Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill. A portrait of leadership, resilience, and complexity. Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill remains one of the most formidable and scrutinized figures of the 20th century. While most renowned as the defiant wartime prime minister who guided Britain through its darkest hour, his life was a sprawling tapestry of political ambition, literary achievement, personal struggle, and global influence that extended far beyond the confines of World War II. To understand Churchill is to understand a man of profound contradictions, an aristocrat who became a champion of the common person, a romantic historian who was a ruthless pragmatist, and a titan of public life who privately battled his own demons. Personal information and formative years. Birth and ancestry. Born on November 30, 1874, at Blenheim Palace, Oxfordshire, Churchill was a product of the British aristocracy. His father was the brilliant but erratic conservative politician Lord Randolph Churchill. His mother, Jenny Jerome, was a wealthy and beautiful American socialite, whose dynamism and transatlantic connections endowed Winston with a unique perspective. Education and growth. Churchill's early academic career was undistinguished. He disliked the rigid structure of schools like Harrow, where he was a poor student. His relationship with his father was distant and often strained, and he spent much of his youth seeking the paternal approval he rarely received. His true intellect found its footing not in the classroom, but in self-education and practical experience. He was admitted to the Royal Military College, Sandhurst, after 3 attempts, where he finally thrived, graduating near the top of his class in 1894. This period marked a critical growth phase, where he channeled his rebellious energy into a disciplined ambition. The path to power, from soldier to statesman. Before becoming a politician, Churchill was a man of action and a writer. He served as a cavalry officer and war correspondent in Cuba, India, the Sudan fighting in the Battle of Omdurman, and most famously South Africa during the Second Boer War. His dramatic capture and subsequent escape from a Boer prison camp made him a national hero and launched his political career. He was first elected to Parliament in 1900 as a Conservative. In a bold move that demonstrated his independent streak, he crossed the floor to join the Liberal Party in 1904. Over the next 3 decades, he held nearly every major cabinet post. 1. Home Secretary, where he dealt with industrial unrest. 2. First Lord of the Admiralty. He championed the modernization of the Royal Navy before World War I. His career was nearly destroyed by the disastrous 1915 Gallipoli campaign, a plan he had championed. This failure cast him into the political wilderness, a period of deep reflection and another phase of personal growth through adversity. 3. Chancellor of the Exchequer. In the 1920s, after rejoining the Conservative Party, he controversially returned Britain to the gold standard, a decision that had severe economic repercussions. His period in the 1930s, known as his wilderness years, was defined by his prescient and persistent warnings against the rise of Nazi Germany, a stance that isolated him from the prevailing policy of appeasement. The war leader and international influence. On May 10, 1940, the day Germany invaded France, Churchill became Prime Minister. His leadership during World War II is the cornerstone of his legacy. He formed a national coalition government and, through his powerful oratory and indomitable will, became the personification of British resistance. Countries visited and vital roles. Churchill was a relentless traveler during the war, understanding that personal diplomacy was paramount. 1. United States. He forged a crucial and deeply personal relationship with President Franklin D. Roosevelt, which he called the Grand Alliance. His visits to Washington and speeches to Congress were instrumental in securing vital American aid like the Lend-Lease Act, before the U.S. officially entered the war. 2. Soviet Union. He had a far more difficult and suspicious relationship with Joseph Stalin. He traveled to Moscow multiple times to coordinate strategy, balancing the necessity of the Soviet alliance against his profound, lifelong anti-communism. 3. Conferences. He was a central figure at the major Allied conferences, Tehran, Yalta, and Potsdam, that shaped both wartime strategy and the blueprint for the post-war world. It was at these meetings that the fates of nations were decided, and Churchill fought, often unsuccessfully, to limit Soviet expansion in Eastern Europe. B. Post-war influence. After his shocking electoral defeat in 1945, Churchill did not fade away. In a 1946 speech in Fulton, Missouri, he famously declared that an Iron Curtain has descended across the continent. This speech is widely seen as a defining moment in the start of the Cold War, framing the new geopolitical reality for the Western world. The man behind the public persona. Family. In 1908, he married Clementine Hosier. Their marriage was a lifelong partnership of affection and mutual respect. Clementine was his most trusted confidant and critic, often tempering his impulsiveness. They had 5 children, though their family life was marked by the pressures of his career and the tragic death of their daughter Marigold at a young age. Social life. Churchill was intensely social, known for his love of fine food, Whole Roger champagne, brandy, and cigars. His days were unconventional, often working from his bed in the morning and holding meetings late into the night. He hosted a constant stream of political figures, artists, and thinkers at his country home Chartwell. Other interests and passions. Churchill was a man of remarkable energy and diverse passions, which he used as an escape from the pressures of office. Writing. He was a prolific writer, publishing dozens of books, including a multi-volume history of the Second World War and a history of the English-speaking peoples. Painting. He began painting at the age of 40 and it became a lifelong passion. He produced over 500 canvases, finding solace and a new way of seeing the world through art. Bricklaying. He was also a surprisingly proficient amateur bricklayer, building walls and cottages at Chartwell with his own hands. Theories, quotes, and inspirations. Inspirations. Churchill was deeply inspired by history and his own lineage, particularly his ancestor John Churchill, 1st Duke of Marlborough, a brilliant military commander. He saw history as a guide in his own life as part of a grand unfolding narrative. B. Political theories. Churchill was not a systematic theorist but a pragmatic statesman guided by core principles: a belief in parliamentary democracy, a fierce defense of individual liberty against tyranny, both fascist and communist, and a romantic, though increasingly anachronistic, commitment to the British Empire. C. Famous quotes. Meaning and implication. His speeches were his greatest weapon. 1. I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. First speech is PM 1940. This was a masterful piece of expectation management. He did not promise easy victory, but instead galvanized the nation by being brutally honest about the sacrifice required. 2. We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender. After Dunkirk, 1940. This was not a factual statement of military capability at the time, but a defiant declaration of intent. It was designed to signal to Britain, and to the world, especially America, that Britain would not be defeated. This was their finest hour. Before the Battle of Britain 1940, he framed the impending struggle not as a terrifying ordeal, but as an opportunity for greatness, bestowing a sense of historic purpose upon the people. Contributions, achievements, and influence on psychology. Certificates and achievements. 1. Nobel Prize in Literature 1953 awarded for his mastery of historical and biographical description as well as for brilliant oratory in defending exalted human values. 2. Honorary Citizen of the United States. 1963, a rare honor recognizing his singular role in forging the Anglo-American alliance. 3, Knight of the Garter. 1953, the highest order of British chivalry. B. Influence on psychology. Churchill provides a fascinating case study in psychological resilience. 1. The Black Dog. Churchill openly referred to his recurring bouts of severe depression as his black dog. His life demonstrates a remarkable example of depressive realism. The idea that mildly depressed individuals may have a more accurate perception of reality. His warnings about Hitler in the 1930s, dismissed as pessimistic fear-mongering by his more optimistic peers, were tragically correct. 2. Coping mechanisms. His intense work ethic, his passionate hobbies, painting, writing, and his unwavering sense of destiny were all powerful psychological tools he used to keep his black dog at bay and channel his mental energy productively. 3. Leadership psychology. As a leader, he was a master of morale. He understood that in a crisis, emotion and symbolism are as important as logistics. His speeches were psychological interventions on a national scale, designed to build collective resilience, manage fear, and inspire hope. Legacy. A contested and enduring figure. Churchill's legacy is immense, but also complex and increasingly contested. The positive view. He is revered as the savior of his nation and arguably of Western civilization. He is the ultimate symbol of defiance against tyranny, a leader whose courage and rhetoric in 1940 prevented a Nazi victory. His life is held up as a testament to the power of a single individual to change the course of history. The critical view. In recent decades, scholars have paid more attention to the darker aspects of his record. He is criticized for his staunch imperialism, his derogatory views on race, particularly towards Indians, his role in the Bengal famine of 1943, and his use of force to suppress anti-colonial movements. Conclusion. The indispensable man. Winston Churchill was a man of his time, an Edwardian aristocrat who was forced to navigate the brutal realities of the 20th century. He was flawed, stubborn, and held views that are rightly condemned today. Yet, his life was a study in resilience, a relentless climb from youthful mediocrity and political disaster to a moment of supreme historical importance. He was a writer who used words as weapons, a painter who saw the world in vivid color, and a statesman who, when civilization teetered on the brink of collapse, summoned the language and the will to fight back. To separate the hero of 1940 from the unapologetic imperialist is to misunderstand the man. He was all of these things at once. His ultimate legacy, therefore, is not that of a flawless saint, but of the indispensable, complicated, and monumental figure who proved that in a time of crisis, leadership, eloquent, courageous, and unwavering, truly matters. The end. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.